Welcome and thank you for joining the Atlantis and eGInnovations webinar today, where we'll be looking at an inspiring perspective on a modern workspace and data center. The session will run for an hour and will be recorded. Please submit any questions via the chat panel and we will cover those at the end. So I'm pleased to introduce our speakers today. We have Ruben Spruijt, CTO at Atlantis Computing, and Srinivas Ramanathan, CEO at eGInnovations. Okay, I'd now like to hand over to Ruben. Thanks, Ruben.
Yes, thank you, Lindsay. Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you live. I'm in California right now. It's early morning for me, and I'm really pleased to be part of this webinar together with Srinivas. And the goal of this webinar is actually pretty simple. Is sharing our perspective on a modern workspace and data center. Proceed with building blocks in AnyCloud. Srinivas will cover end-to-end performance management with eGInnovations. I will cover software-defined storage and hyper-converged infrastructure with Atlantis Computing. So first question is how a modern workspace drives productivity. That's an interesting one because that's key for the modern workspace. Productivity, productivity, productivity. And the most important with a modern workspace is focus on me actually. And me is not Ruben, living in the Netherlands, CTO of Atlantis Computing, married, 3 kids. But me is what I call business consumer. That's a new name different name for end user. In the earlier days of Windows XP, we as IT pros were much more in control. And therefore we call it, well, end users. I think today a lot of things has changed, and I think it's handy to and wise to call users business consumers, different mindset. Why is it important to focus on me? Because focusing on me, focus on the business consumer gives us insights. And it gives us involved business consumers in projects we do, workspace related projects. And overall, it's very key to have happy, content business consumers in our organization. So when I look at business consumers, it starts with me. And the business consumers is heavily connected to the modern workspace. I can explain my father-in-law or friends what a modern workspace looks like, and that's easier. Explaining what a modern data center looks like is probably boring for them. It's not boring for me or for us, but boring for them. So business consumer is heavily connected to workspace. But workspace and data center should be heavily connected to each other. A modern workspace without a modern data center is a no-go, and a modern data center without a modern workspace is a no-go either. So that finding that balance is the ambition, and it should be the ambition of you and your organization as well. I will briefly talk about my view, the view of Atlantis, of a modern workspace. So the question could be, what is your modern workspace? There is not just one modern workspace. It depends on who you are, what type of organization you have, the maturity level, all these kind of things. But I created 6 segments, 6 themes of a modern workspace, which can be helpful for you to proceed in a modern workspace. And the first one is what I call device proliferation. Device proliferation is all about device, application, and data. What type of device do I have? Maybe Internet of Things or Internet for Everything could be part of that. All types of screens, all types of OSs, and it's getting, well, bigger over time. It's diverse all over the place. And the key question is, what do you want to manage? What are the crown jewels in your organization? And do I want to focus on device management, application management, or data management? The second topic is all about secure access. So secure access, secure networking, identity management as a service are a couple of topics which I combined in the theme secure access, a critical theme in a modern workspace. Quite often I see that secure access is like a different group of people and in an IT organization, and with that sometimes a little bit disconnected from business consumers and their view on usability, for instance. So it could be very secure but not really usable. You need to log on 3-4 times. So secure access in a modern workspace should be a key theme. The third topic is any app delivery. And with any app delivery, I mean Windows, quote, legacy app, Windows 10, new applications, HTML5, mobile, SaaS, and web applications. How do I deliver these applications to my business consumers? Workspace aggregation is an interesting topic about that. VDI is an interesting topic about that. The developments in Windows 10 and the release of Windows 10 very soon is an interesting development. A lot of developments in this space. When I look at VDI in this particular scenario, I see that we are in the VDI 3.0 phase right now. So user experience, one of the key themes in desktop virtualization in general. It's great to see the graphics, introduction of graphics adds a lot of new capacities in the VDI space. Storage is solved from a performance perspective and capacity perspective. That should not be the discussion anymore in your VDI project. I see VDI 4.0 happening in some degree as well, and that means that the impact of the graphics from a price cost perspective will be lower than it is today. And also the availability of different server brands and the availability of graphics in that is what I call VDI 4.0. But today it is possible to deliver graphics, high-end graphics, medium graphics for knowledge workers, for information workers today. And when you look at the cost per VM, the cost is driving down dramatically. I added a reference to a reference architecture as well, so you can see what the context is of that price. The fourth topic about the modern workspace is collaboration. Collaboration is key for me in a daily work. And collaboration for me means three things. It means, well, just simple, this example, unified communications, like GoToMeeting, like Skype for Business, like a lot of platforms you can use for collaboration on that side. The second topic is enterprise file sharing and synchronization. How do I share this 70 megabyte PowerPoint presentation with my coworkers on a controlled, secure fashion? That's the second topic. And the third topic is how do I combine document-centric, like SharePoint, for instance, with people-centric, like Slack or Socialcast or Yammer. That's the third topic in collaboration. That should be part of a modern workspace. Fifth one is what I call self-service. Self-service enables proactive and automated delivery and return of IT services, not only applications, but much broader than applications. And the key is easy to use self-service portal. So the business consumer should recognize his interface. It's like, okay, this is a simple interface. I remember that simple interface from a Google Play Store or from my Apple Store. So business with, of course, on the front end, and the engine executing a lot of interesting processes should be open, should be a handy framework to execute all these tasks. The sixth one is what I call workspace management or management. And workspace management is not particular user environment management, but workspace management is much more the umbrella of topics in the IT toolbox. Could be PC lifecycle management like SCCM or ZenWorks. Could be application installation with PC with SCCM or ZenWorks or other solutions. Could be mobile device management, could be mobile application management, could be user environment management solutions. All these topics together with new topics, for instance with layering technologies, is what I called management of the total workspace. And that's a key component in the IT toolbox of the modern workspace. The business consumer, in essence, he doesn't really care about this topic. The application should be there with a finger knip. But from our IT perspective, there's a lot of movement and a lot of choice in the management space, and a lot of interesting approaches as well, as layering, for instance, is one of these. So these are the 6 components in a modern workspace. And the modern workers, the focus should be on me. As I started, me is the business consumer. With my identity, with my workspace, and how do I present that workspace, any application, any data, you can write down a lot of any's, so NEX. And focus on collaboration. Do more, work smarter, enjoy kick-ass. That is what I call the modern workspace. So that's the first topic, first segment in our perspective on a modern workspace and data center. Let's proceed with how a modern data center enables the workspace. So the modern workspace should be invisible for the business consumer. As I explained earlier, the business consumer doesn't really care about the data center. We as IT pros we care about the data center. We see the importance we see the importance why we have a data center, or using cloud computing, AnyCloud, because that is connected and fueling the workspace today. In a modern data center, there are 5 components. And the first component is what I call software-defined data center. And that's, well, not what I call, that's how the industry sees the next generation of data center, software-defined. The challenges will move from hardware to software. So there's a big transformation happening in the data center space, as you probably are aware of as well. From in the early days, build your own data center, use various components and build your own data centers, networking gears, storage networking gear, server gear, storage gear, and blend these components together and build your own data center. Right now we are in the converged infrastructures phase. A lot of organizations are using converged infrastructure, and a lot of people are also looking at hyperconverged. So there's a transformation from build your own converged infrastructure to hyperconverged infrastructure. It's interesting to see that software is improving the world. And when you look at this, well, sort of quote, Tesla software upgrades improved acceleration by half a second. I like to speed up. and also when you look at iOS upgrade, improves battery life by 1 hour. You can look at this from 2 angles. You can say, okay, these are maybe lousy developers and they didn't do a great job at the beginning. Or you can say, okay, they started and they just adjusted and improved the software over time. Both have has their pros and cons, but in essence, software is improving the world. And we look at software upgrades from well, this is just a screenshot from a Tesla. An over-the-air upgrade of Tesla added a lot of new features and enhancements of the car. And I know some friends who drive a Tesla were really impressed by that. So software is improving the world from that perspective as well. By 2020, between 70 and 80% of unstructured data will be held in will be held in storage managed by software-defined storage environments. That's one of the quotes Gartner has. So you see that over time, much more data will be stored in commodity storage, local storage. What are the key business benefits of software-defined storage? Is lowering TCO, much faster time to market, and simplify management. These are the key themes. And I think it's good, even when you have an IT pro head-on, it's good to determine, okay, what are the key business benefits of this project? What's the key benefit of a modern workspace? What's the key benefit of software-defined storage? Finding that answer is key in every project. Second topic, I explained it a little bit, is integrated systems. And with integrated systems, I see a lot of movement in traditional converged infrastructure and a lot of movement in hyperconverged. So I wrote down from server, compute, networking, storage, management software, scalability, integration, and different vendors. Okay, what do the different vendors do on the converged infrastructure and hyperconverged infrastructure? What are the themes on these? Just to write down my thoughts on that. I think it's handy for you to determine as well. Okay, what's my goal of the modern workspace and modern data center? Is that using traditional converged infrastructure or hyperconverged, or bring your own? What are the pros and cons? And I think it's handy to write it down for yourself. And hopefully this slide can be helpful for you. So with Atlantis hyperconverged infrastructure, we combine storage and compute. We use commodity hardware. We have no storage area network. Storage is software, and we use a symmetric architecture, so scale-up architecture. So simple, easy, cost-efficient. That's what the Atlantis hyperconverged, Atlantis Hypersky solution is. And it's all about simplification. That's a critical message in hyperconverged. Merge compute, storage, and networking together. From a technology perspective, that's what I like a lot, but also from an organizational perspective. That's sometimes a challenge. Organizational changes is not that easy. And be aware when you move to the hyperconverged space that has impact on both technical perspective and organizational perspective. So key business benefits of hyperconverged is building blocks, simplified, high performance, lower cost. That's the key message with hyperconverged. And I think right now in this webinar, it's not my goal to my intention to do a deeper dive on all these topics, but just determining yourself, okay, what are my key business benefits of using hyperconverged or converged infrastructure? I truly believe in hyperconverged, but it's up to you to determine what fits best for me in my organization. So by 2018, converged infrastructure systems categorized by hyperconverged, as I explained, will represent 35% of total converged infrastructure shipments. So that's you see that there's a lot of movement in the space, a lot of vendors in this space, and it's good to see that vendors are differentiating from each other. I will cover that later in my other segment as well. So the third one, so first one is software defined, second one is integrated systems, and third one is orchestration. What's the challenge today? Well, IT pressure will grow and budgets won't. That's what I see in the field. A lot of organizations today have consolidated and virtualized their workload, and now it's okay. How can I orchestrate my workloads? How can I automate my workloads? And even a step further, how can I orchestrate processes in my organization? So engineers, system engineers will become automation engineers, and the infrastructure should be invisible. I think the ultimate system engineer or system or consultant have automated have automated a lot of tasks in the infrastructure and is sitting with his feet on the chair, not because he is lazy, no, because he has automated a lot of things. That's a very good thing to have that mindset. Automate where possible. And especially repeatable task, automate these is key. Fourth one is AnyCloud. And with AnyCloud, I mean on-premises, off-premises, so private, public, and bridging these clouds together. We can spend an hour plus talking about cloud pros and cons. A lot of customers are looking at public cloud and bridging the public cloud from private cloud to public cloud with hybrid. And I think hyperconverged can play an important role as well in that. And the fifth one is performance management, end-to-end performance management. Looking forward, okay, making predictions for the future, but also using looking back, okay, what happened in this X amount of time with my infrastructure, and how can I use that knowledge? I see a lot of organizations focusing pure from end-to-end performance management, pure on physical IT components, which is okay, depends on your view, and maybe depends on maturity level as well. It's good to look at, also looking from a business services perspective. And what kind of business service do I have in my organization? What kind of IT service do I have to support these business services? What type of logical IT component do I have to support these IT services? What physical IT components do I have to support logical IT components, to support IT services, to support business services? You'll get the point. So it's not only focusing on physical IT components. And EG will cover this topic as well, obvious. So these are the 5 components as I see a modern data center looks like: software-defined storage, software-defined networking, integrated systems, hyperconverged, automate where possible, using on-premises and public cloud infrastructures, and focus also on performance management, end-to-end performance management. So the modern data center should not be visible for the business consumer. Focus on business app and business data. And the modern data center is any cloud, not one cloud, any app, software-defined, hyperconverged, automated. Wow, that's how I look at the modern data center. So right now I will shift gears a little bit and give EG the stage and talk about end-to-end performance management. And after EG, I will be back with my view on software-defined storage and hyperconverged infrastructure and our play on that.
Thank you, Ruben. Srinivas with eGInnovations here. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. So whenever I talk about IT performance management, most people look at it as monitoring of CPU, looking at memory available, network bandwidth used, essentially resource usage. After all, this has been the traditional way in which IT performance management has been done. Now, as Ruben mentioned, the key criteria by which IT operations teams are being measured today has changed. An IT manager does not get credit for keeping CPU low or keeping sufficient memory on your servers. As an IT manager, you're measured by how happy your business consumers are. If your business consumers are happy, the business is doing well and the IT team is doing well. If that is not the case, then the IT team is not doing well. So the measures of IT performance are user experience related. How much downtime does service have? How fast is the response time? So when I click on an application, for example, how soon does it launch? How reliable is a user session? Does it get terminated in the middle while I'm doing some productive work? And when problems invariably occur, how quickly are these problems getting resolved? So these are some of the key metrics by which IT performance is being looked at today. Now, keeping your users happy and productive is easier said than done, as we all know. The underlying infrastructure is quite complex. As you can see from this chart, there are many tiers of hardware and software that are involved in supporting a business service, and the addition of virtualization and cloud computing only adds more elements to the infrastructure. If you look at this figure closely, you'll see that there are links between the different tiers. These links represent logical interdependencies between tiers. And what this means is, if you had a failure in one of the tiers of the infrastructure, it could ripple and affect the other tiers of the infrastructure as well. So for example, if a problem on the server started on the server, could impact your middleware, affect your website, and ultimately affects the business service that is being delivered. So from an operations perspective, your challenge as an IT manager is to determine where the root cause of the problem lies and differentiating the cause of the problem from the effects. This is where an end-to-end performance management solution can help you. So we've seen what the end goal of end-to-end performance management is. Let's take a minute to understand how an ideal performance management system can add value to you, the IT manager. Now, as an IT manager, your core job is to create high-value services for your business. This is where you want to be spending most of your time. You don't want you and your team to be stuck firefighting routine issues. So what you want from a performance management solution is not a lot of data that you have to manually sift through. Instead, you want insights that can help you pinpoint where the infrastructure bottlenecks are, so you can focus your attention on fixing them. This way, you and your team are more focused on your core tasks and you're not distracted by routine firefighting. So the goal of end-to-end performance management is not only to keep your business consumers happy, but also to make you, the IT manager, successful and happy. To do this, you want the management solution to be preemptive. So it can tell you in advance when you need to take action and what you need to take action on. So you can quickly get your services up and running and you keep your users happy. And when problems happen, it should help you quickly resolve those problems. Show you where the bottlenecks are instantly so you don't have to spend hours trying to troubleshoot issues. At the same time, your bosses probably don't want you coming back to them often for capital purchases. So the performance management tool must help you right-size your infrastructure so you can do more with less and look good to your bosses. And finally, when you have to plan for future, the performance management tool has to help you identify where your bottlenecks are so your future investments are done wisely. To achieve these goals, it's critical that the performance management tool collect all the right metrics. If you're not collecting the right metrics, you're not seeing the right alerts, you can't be preemptive, your users will find your issues before you do. The type of metrics that you need to troubleshoot problems effectively are fairly well known. On the screen, you can see some of the key metrics at the application, operating system, virtualization, and storage tiers. Metrics like VM CPU ready time, balloon memory, LUNs and how much IOPS are happening, the ICA latency information, application launch time information. These are all key metrics that you would expect from any performance management solution for a modern data center and workspace. At the same time, you don't want to be flooded with raw metrics. You want some level of analysis and insights from the solution. On the screen, you'll see some of the key capabilities that you should expect to see from any performance management system. Capabilities like auto discovery of information, dashboards, proactive alerts, root cause analysis, trending, prediction, and so on are fundamental. Ultimately, though, as we discussed, it's not about metrics, it's not about dashboards. What you must have is a system that's going to make your life simple. Let's take an analogy. Managing an IT infrastructure is similar to driving a car. A performance management system for your IT infrastructure is like a GPS is to the car. Consider the changes that the GPS has made to the way we drive a car today. Gone are the days when we had to take a map out your route before you even got started. The process was manual, slow, time-consuming, and required some expertise, which I, for one, never had. Today, you can get into your car, tell your GPS where you want to go, and your GPS figures the route for you almost automatically. It's fast, automatic, doesn't require a lot of expertise to operate, and is even smart. So it can route you from one place to another smartly, even considering traffic routes, taking traffic routes into account. An IT performance management system for the modern workspace and data center will be similar to a GPS. It'll hide the complexity of the data center from you as much as possible, provides you insights, not raw data. So the amount of work that you need to do to keep your infrastructure running is greatly reduced. So what I've just described are some of the key criteria that we at eGInnovations have taken into account as we designed our EG Enterprise Performance Management System. In addition to these criteria, we also wanted the performance management tool to be simple to set up and easy to license. What you see is the architecture for the EG Enterprise solution. It's based on the manager agent concept. You install agent or agentless monitors in your infrastructure. They communicate using web protocols, HTTP or HTTPS, to a central management system where the data is collected, stored, and analyzed. And since we use the web protocols for all communications, setup is a breeze. You really don't have to open any new ports or firewall rules for communication. Now, installation is also straightforward. We use the concept of a universal monitor. The same piece of software can be installed on all the servers we monitor. So you can deploy it on a gold image. The licensing does not depend on the hardware capabilities of the operating system being used in the environment. We also don't license based on the types of applications you want to manage. So you don't have to bother to install a specific Citrix monitor on a Citrix server or an Oracle monitor on an Oracle server. You install the same agent on all the servers, the agent comes up, it auto-discovers the information, and then it reports the right metrics. With that quick background, let me dive into a very short live demonstration to give you an idea for how this solution works. As Ruben mentioned, in a modern data center, your focus is on the services being rendered to the business consumer, not to the nuts and bolts of the infrastructure. So for the purpose of this demonstration, I've logged into the EG Enterprise console. I've focused on the services panel where you see the key services that are being delivered to users. The green color tells me that things are working fine. Different shades of red indicate different levels of problems. So I've got a business service, Infomart, that seems to be having a problem right now. When I click on the Infomart service, the first thing we show you is what is the user experience like. What are users seeing? What transactions are performing? How many transactions are you getting on the server end? How many of those transactions are in error? What kind of response times are users getting? From the screen, you can see that a couple of your transactions are seeing issues. Users accessing your workspace are seeing application access errors. To troubleshoot this problem further, when I click on a transaction, the next drill down gives me an idea of how the infrastructure is laid out to support the service. Walking this diagram from left to right, I see a user connecting through a router, web front end, Citrix Zone Data Collector, requests being forwarded to a Citrix XenApp server. The user accesses a client application published on XenApp. That application is talking to backend infrastructure services to perform its task. This topology graph clearly tells me what elements are involved in supporting the service. The color codes tell me which parts of the infrastructure are working and which ones are not. Anything which is not in green is having an issue, and I just need to follow the color cues to figure out where the problem lies. In this example, I know that the web front end is impacted, but really the problem seems to be on the XenApp tier. So let me click on XenApp to see what's going on. When I click on XenApp, the software is smart enough to discover that XenApp is running in a virtual environment. What you see here is what we call as a virtual topology. So XenApp is running on a virtual machine that's hosted on a VMware server. There are other applications also hosted on virtual machines running on the same VMware server. The color codes again tell me what's going on. While XenApp is hot, my VMware server is hotter. So I need to be focusing to troubleshoot the problem on the VMware server, not the XenApp server. So when I click on VMware for more details, on the left-hand side, you'll see a layer model for VMware show up. We've used this concept of layer models to represent the performance of every single element in your infrastructure. The concept is very simple. Every device, every application is structured as functional layers, one on top of the other. We monitor the performance of each of these layers and represent the health of that layer. In this example, what you see is a model for VMware. We have models like this for all of the Citrix tiers, VMware View, and related applications, and even enterprise applications like SAP, Java, and so on. Working this model bottom up, the operating system of VMware represents the hypervisor and the service console. A tick mark at the network layer tells me the server is working good. The virtual network is good. The virtual machines look like they're having a problem, but the real issue seems to be in the hypervisor of the VMware server. When I click on the operating system layer, down below you see tests or checks that we run for that operating system. You can see that we're looking at LUNs, memory, processors, all the details that you would expect to look at the health of your VMware server. Currently, from the color codes, you can see that the system console, the bootstrap operating system of VMware, is running hot. On the right-hand side, you can see the metrics that we last pulled. The virtual CPU usage of the VMware service console is almost 100%. So something running on your service console is taking so much resources, it's not giving enough resources to your virtual machines, it's impacting the performance of your applications. Now your users are calling your help desk saying my application, in this case Citrix, is slow. With this tool you can troubleshoot with a few clicks and say the real problem is not Citrix, it's something running on my VMware service console. I can go one level further. When I click on this magnifying glass next to the metric, I can actually tell you what applications running on the service console are choking the performance of the server. And you can see in this case that there is a backup job running on the service console that's impacting the performance of your critical applications. So your VMware administrator seems to have started some backup jobs. Those jobs seem to be impacting the performance of your apps. Your users are calling your help desk saying Citrix performance is slow. So this is how an intelligent performance management system can help you. Now I showed you all these drill downs to give you an idea for how the software works. In reality, I don't really have to click through several times to see what's going on. This alarm console that I've just brought up lists all the open problems in my environment. Notice on the left-hand side from the color codes, we're telling you which problems are severe, which ones can be looked at later. The topmost alert is the root cause alert. It tells me that there is a CPU usage problem on my VMware server, and with one click I can get to exactly where the problem is. So the goal of a modern workspace performance management system is not to give you a lot of metrics, but really to make it very easy for you with a few clicks to get to what you really care about, which is to troubleshoot issues and to bring your infrastructure back up and running quickly. Now with that background, I just want to make a couple of other points. A modern data center and workspace management system is not just about alerting. It's also about getting insights based on the performance metrics that are being collected in your environment, so you can use it for right-sizing your environment and understanding, looking at ways to optimize your environment. So on this screen, you see reports that are generated by the tool that help you identify who the top users are, for example. Who uses the infrastructure the most? Who stays on the longest? Who are the top CPU consuming users? Now you can use this information to make intelligent decisions. For example, you might want to load balance your servers so the highest CPU users are on different servers for optimal performance. The reports can also help you identify opportunities to optimize your infrastructure to get more out of your current investments. On this report, you see the number of sessions being handled by 6 different servers. And then if you can look at the number of sessions completed, you'll see that 3 of your servers are seeing much higher workload compared to the other 3 at the bottom. So the load in this case looks like it's not being balanced across your servers. So if you can tweak your load balancing algorithms to balance the load across all your servers, you might be able to support more users with the same infrastructure. The value proposition of a modern workspace and data center performance management solution should be obvious from what I've mentioned so far. It helps to keep your users, your business consumers happy, helps enhance their productivity, and from an operations perspective, it also helps your team ensure that you're getting the most out of your current investments. In a nutshell, the performance management system for an AnyCloud infrastructure should keep your business consumers happy, but also keep you, the IT manager, happy as well. Before we end, a very quick note about eGInnovations. We are a performance management software vendor. Our solutions specialize on performance management for virtualized applications and desktops. We're particularly well known for our work with Citrix and VMware. Our solutions are certified ready for these platforms. And we have over 1,000 customers in different verticals that rely on our solutions. Some of the largest Citrix and Workspace deployments in the world are using our solutions for their performance management needs. And if you need to get more information or you're interested in a free trial, here's a link that you can go to download a free copy of our software, and also contact information if you're interested in getting in touch with us. With that quick overview on end-to-end performance management systems, I'm going to transfer the floor back to Ruben so he can talk about hyperconverged infrastructures and software-defined storage.
Yep, that's great. Just double check if you see my screen and you hear my voice. I think it does, right? Okie dokie. So I started with our perspective on a modern workspace and a modern data center with 6 key themes in a modern workspace and 5 key themes in a data center. One of the themes in a modern data center was end-to-end performance management, explained by AG why it's important, what they offer in this space. And right now we'll spend 15 minutes or something like that in what Atlantis is doing in a software-defined storage and a hyperconverged infrastructure space. So let's proceed with that one. This is the AG stuff. I will skip it. That's it. So Atlantis in the modern workspace, data center, and AnyCloud. So before I do more like a product focus introduction, I think it's good to share our vision, strategy, and execution. And we truly believe in a storage revolution, making cost of storage go to zero. Customers should not pay for performance anymore, for storage performance, and make everything high performance. No compromises in storage. Customers need a freedom of choice from both a server perspective, from a storage perspective, from a hypervisor perspective. Simplicity, higher speed at a fraction of the cost. We make the storage revolution happen. That's the why of Atlantis. The how of Atlantis, we turn approaches upside down by applying innovative software to hardware. Storage is not a hardware problem. Hardware is the problem. Storage is software. This is the how, and this is what we do. Our solutions are the core building blocks of a modern data center. We bring software-defined storage and hyper-converged infrastructure solutions to AnyCloud, to on-premises, private cloud right now, and you will see over time bridging that to public cloud services as well. Just a brief journey of Atlantis. So Atlantis started in 2006, founded by colleague, CEO Chetan Venkatesh. 2010, first big SDS deployment, 100,000 concurrent VMs. The customer right now is still a happy Atlantis customer running 120,000 VMs today. Well, you can see an interesting timeline here. Interesting timeline. 2015, we launched Hyperscale, our hyperconverged infrastructure solution. Well, around 1,000 customers running our software. Interesting to see that a lot of Citrix CTPs joined Atlantis over the last years as well. So today's data center challenges are a couple of things. It's complex. There is risk because there's a lot of moving parts. Cost is a big challenge. I see a lot of challenges in cost and storage in particular. Availability and performance, these are challenges I see when I talk to CTO, CEO, solution architects at customers all over the place, Netherlands, Europe, US. Some have particular challenges, but overall you see these major themes happening. So from cost perspective, you see that the amount of VMs is growing rapidly, but also the growth of storage is growing rapidly. When you look in healthcare, I have a couple of friends working as CEO and CTO in healthcare. They have a big challenge around storage. A lot of the storage growth is happening through the roof. So it's a big challenge for them. When you look at performance, this is a benchmark, TPCC benchmark. Interesting to see that adding Atlantis with in this case Supermicro, not only has a high performance TPC score, but also when you look at the price, is really dramatic lower compared to the others, because we have a complete different approach of storage than the majority of vendors have in this space. When you look at complex, risk, and availability, this is a typical converged infrastructure, classic storage data center diagram. LAN switching, servers, VMs, LAN switching, storage, replication to another site. Most of the people will recognize this picture. This is pretty complex. Quite often storage is being sized for performance or for capacity. And it quite often is a different silo of people. So a lot of moving parts, a lot of risk as well. When you upgrade the software on the storage controllers, or when you upgrade the storage infrastructure for certain reasons. So a lot of risk is involved as well. It's complex. So what do we do? What we do? We solve complex, we solve cost, we solve performance, we solve availability, and we lower the risk. That's the essence what Atlantis is doing. How are we doing that? Well, by two things. We have intelligent software, Atlantis USX and Atlantis EDO in the earlier days, but Atlantis USX as software-defined storage solution. And we have modern building blocks for the modern data center, hyperconverged infrastructure, called Atlantis Hyperscale. So in the modern data center, these two building blocks is what we provision. So we have two solutions in our portfolio stack. One is what I call a more tailor-made solution. A big engine, a powerful engine, can be customized, the car can be customized, and customizing to meet your requirements. And the other one is more a purpose-built solution. From a more solution perspective, so Atlantis offering is Atlantis USX, a software-defined storage flash hyperconverged infrastructure. Atlantis USX, the engine is used in hyperscale. Very compelling economics, single point of support through Atlantis. From a software perspective, so Atlantis software, obvious, but also the virtual infrastructure software and the hardware components. Single point of support and a storage guarantee as well. So we have today 12 terabyte, 24 terabyte, all-flash hyperconverged appliance. And when you need more, we'll just add more appliances, as you see in this picture as well. All-flash storage performance, 160,000 IOPS, sub-millisecond latency, high amount of HammerDB transactions per minute. So you can benefit of our technology, our patented technology, with deduplication from both a performance and capacity perspective. And it's always good to look at the context. I know that when I did a lot of tests within Project VRC, always look at the context when a vendor or someone is sharing details about performance. In this context, these numbers, 50% read, 50% write, 4K blocks, 80% is random, test on one hyperscale appliance. So it's always good when you see numbers, look at the context. I can, like 2 million IOPS without any context doesn't say anything. So it's always about context, context, context. So with Atlantis Hyperscale, it's freedom to choose server and hypervisor. Today we support VMware and Citrix. We support Lenovo and Cisco and Supermicro and HP as server brands on Hyperscale. It's a simple 20-minute installation. Before this software, as you can see here. What's a little bit technology at a glance. So the 12 terabyte CX we currently have. We are using 80 V3 in total machines for these for this hyperscale appliance storage. You get high performance compute as well, CPU and memory. Well, VDI workloads around server workloads, whatever is feasible for you. So what is the competition doing in this space? And there's a lot of help, and that's beneficial for customers and partners in general. So we focus today on two solutions. It's Atlantis USX and Atlantis Hyperscale. We have Atlantis EDO as well. It's our 4th generation software. A lot of customers are using it. And we see a lot of movement, a lot of energy as well in the hyperconverged space with Atlantis Hyperscale. Why did we introduce Hyperscale? Not everyone is interested in a tailor-made solution. Sometimes people will just have to receive a building block for their data center. So that's the reason. That's the main reason why we introduced the Hyperscale appliance. And you see that Nutanix and Simplicity and Evo and its partners are competing in this space. When you look at Atlantis USX, VMware vSAN is one of the biggest competitors in this space. So differences between Atlantis, Nutanix, Simplicity, and Evo is written down in this slide. When you're interested in under the covers, I will have a call to action in a couple of slides. And that call to action and that information will do a deep dive in how we operate. And especially the deduplication, we have a true inline deduplication technology, which is beneficial not only from a capacity perspective, but also from a performance perspective. And that's a key differentiator between Nutanix, Simplicity, and VMware with Evo. More in general, key differentiators, we have two solutions. We have software-defined storage and hyper-converged building blocks. We have freedom of choice between hardware and hypervisor. We can use Cisco, Lenovo, Supermicro, or HP. We can use XenServer or vSphere. When you look at performance, well, add USX or Hyperscale to your own test bed and do performance testing. I am convinced that we will beat the performance. And when you look at cost, it's always good to do your own math. There's some cost savings calculator, a cost calculator on our website. And when you want to have more details about that, just drop me an email. I'm happy to share more info about it. But I'm convinced that we have a very compelling story from both a performance and a cost perspective. In our data services, data services like data duplication, but a lot of data services also covered under the covers, is very interesting to see. And these data services are key in a modern data center. Data services like, for instance, a REST API for manageability. So manageability should be part of the services. And it's interesting to see the big differences between the different vendors and the focus they have. Is the focus big data? Is the focus virtualization? Is the focus general storage? There are a lot of vendors in the software-defined storage space and the hyperconverged space. But when you really do a drill down of these vendors, it's good to look at these differentiators. Is it software-defined storage? Is it hyperconverged? What's the freedom of choice? What's the cost? What kind of data service do they offer? What's their focus? And then you can do a really detailed drill down on functional, technical differences. So when you're interested about that, in that, just drop me an email, ruben@atlantiscomputing.com. I like this quote. So hyperconverged is a dense gravity ball, sucking in more and more capabilities. It will be the bridge between on-premises and cloud. So it's great to see that software is changing the world. And with software-defined storage and with hyperconverged, I think we are in a great position to be part of this modern data center. When I started a couple of months ago, I collected a lot of interesting links. Most of them are external available as well, but finding all this kind of info is always like, you need a certain amount of time. I did that. So when you're interested in a Red Bull, in deep dive technology videos, in interesting reference architectures, these kind of things, I collected these links for you. Send me an email, ruben@atlantiscomputing.com or cto@atlantiscomputing.com. I will respond personally, no robot. I'm the quote-unquote robot. I will respond personally to your request, and if you have any questions, just let me know. So with that, I want to just briefly wrap it up. We started with our perspective on a modern workspace and a modern data center with six key components in a modern workspace and 5 key components in a modern data center. I hope that this structure helps you in determining, okay, what does my modern workspace and modern data center looks like? And we did it more, well, give more overview, okay, what is end-to-end performance management, software-defined storage, and hyperconverged infrastructure in a modern data center. Hopefully it was useful for you, hopefully it was entertaining and inspiring for you as well. With that, I want to close this official webinar and open the chat/Q&A for now. Let's see, we have some questions here.
Hi Ruben, it's Paul here. We have a few questions, some of which have been taken care of inside the questions window.
Good.
So some of them are for EG, obviously, and some of them are for us. I mean, given the number of people, it's not surprising.
Shall I answer the EG questions, or to make it fun?
I think we can hand those over if you want.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so a question for EG. Are you selling software and are you providing a service from the cloud?
So we are selling it as software that you can deploy within your enterprise. We also offer this as a service from the cloud. So if you don't want to install the software in-house, you want to use the management console we have available running in the cloud, you can do that as well. We call that service as EG on tap. So both options are available depending on your needs.
And I think this is a question for both, really. In terms of VDI solutions, it looks like a broker question. So what VDI solutions do you support? VMware View, Citrix, XenApp, XenDesktop?
Yeah, this is Ruben. Well, we support well all the vendors you mentioned. Well, we provide high performance, cost-effective storage to a virtualization platform. And a virtualization platform could be VDI, it could be general storage. And our background, as we started in like 2006, we have a lot of customers in the VDI and server-based computing space. So when customers are, or people watching this webinar, are interested in use cases, customer stories, in this particular case, just let me know. Happy to provide feedback on that.
And from an EG perspective, we do support VMware View as well as Citrix, XenApp, and XenDesktop.
That's great. Okay. The next question didn't really specify whether it was Atlantis or EG, so I guess both of you can take a crack at this one as well. It really boils around the time that it takes to set up the solution. So I'll hand that over to Ruben first.
Yeah, well, I mentioned in my section that we have two solutions. So the hyperscale solution is literally, 20 minutes install. There are two phases. It's like a pre-install phase that takes maybe an hour. That's more like the system integrators part. And there's like an unboxing phase to the at the customer side, which takes 20 minutes. I've done it myself last weekend. I received a Supermicro CX12 at home. A lot of noise, but it works. It works pretty well. Performs great, and that was the installation experience. From a USX perspective, it's tailor-made. So then it really depends. Well, as you know, Paul, as well. What's the setup? What's the architecture? What's the goal? And exactly. then it depends. Yeah, what you want to achieve with that. That's not like a 20 minutes installation compared to hyperscale. But that's the reason why it's why I call it tailor-made.
Great, thank you.
And from an EG perspective, setup of our solution is pretty straightforward. We have out-of-the-box models for performance management of the hypervisor, application, storage, etc., pre-built into the solution. So within an hour, you could be up and running for a decent-sized VDI or a XenApp environment, collecting metrics and reporting alerts as well. So pretty straightforward to set up. The licensing model is also easy. As I mentioned, you deploy the same agent or agentless monitor on all the servers. You don't really have to worry about whether you're running PVS on a server or storefront on another server. You just deploy the same image on each of the servers, and the software comes up and discovers what it needs to do and starts working. And by the way, I did not install this system at home last week to test the performance at home, but it is very easy.
Lovely. Srinivas, another question for you. I believe Raja may have handled this via the chat window, but it's one worth sharing. What about plugins for other types of storage, such as SAN, NAS, ZFS, etc.?
We do support most common storage platforms, SAN, NAS, ZFS, all of the above. We have in-depth monitoring for all these different storage devices. We also support Atlantis ILIO as well.
Okay, thank you. Was another question. I think this one has also been answered. People have been asking whether they can get hold of the slides. When they will be made available.
I assume, well, I'm pretty sure that Lindsay, the colleagues from Atlantis and EG will provide the deck and the recording after the session. And when people are really interested to receive the deck now, like in 5 minutes, just send me an email. I'm happy to share the deck.
Okay, good stuff. And I'm not sure, but I think this is another question for EG. Can this tool you showed integrate with the service desk solutions, such as ServiceNow, for example?
Absolutely, yes. So when alerts or problems are detected by our tool, we can actually integrate with ServiceNow, so we can automatically open a trouble ticket in the ServiceNow console. As the problem evolves, as the severity of the problem goes up or down, we can update the ServiceNow console again automatically. And if the problem goes away or is resolved, the ticket is automatically closed in ServiceNow as well. So tight integration is supported out of the box. ServiceNow is just one example of the type of tools we can integrate with. We also support other service desk solutions as well.
Okay. Question for you, Ruben. It basically has to do with licensing. So how is Atlantis USX licensed?
Yeah. I give it a try. Licensing is not my main expertise, but what I understand is on hyperscale is pretty simple. You buy a CX12 or a CX24. That's 12 terabyte effective storage or 24 terabyte effective storage, and with that, all the licensing stuff from Atlantis perspective is included in that price. From a USX perspective, there we have different models depending on if you have focus on VDI like a concurrent user license, or a XenApp, more a host-based license, or a general storage license that is licensed for a certain amount of terabyte of storage. So USX in general has 3 licenses depending on VDI, XenApp, shared platform, or a general storage platform. And a hyperscale, the license is included with the appliance, 12 terabyte or 24 terabyte license. That's the essence of Atlantis and licensing.
Okay, and another question here hasn't been answered in the chat window. Oh, it's just.
I see a question about NVIDIA support as well, right?
That's the one, yeah. You got it.
So the question is, Atlantis supports NVIDIA Grid. That's a question. As I explained, we have 2 solutions. With USX, we can use any hardware, any platform, whatever. And with that, well, we support NVIDIA Grid as well. And with Hyperscale today, so the current platform, we don't support NVIDIA Grid yet. So the current CX12 and CX24 nodes with the 4 server platforms they don't support NVIDIA Grid yet, but it's on our roadmap to add additional hyperscale appliances which support NVIDIA Grid K1 and K2.
Okay, great.
So when you want to have support for NVIDIA Grid now, the approach is use USX and use, for instance, DL380s, HP, or Cisco C240s, M4s, and add USX to the platform, which can be pretty straightforward as well, but it's a different approach than Hyperscale is. When you want more info, I'm not sure who asked this question, but want more info, drop me an email. Happy to help with that.
Okay, the last question I got is around, can I try before I buy? So I guess this is about evaluation versions, and I guess that's to both. So evaluation versions, how do I get them? How long do they last?
I can answer the question from Atlantis perspective. So USX, you could have access to an evaluation license. There's some community movement as well. I won't share that right now, but keep a close eye on Atlantis. So you can have access to the software. Send me an email or use the form on the website to request access, and then you will get access to USX. When you want to evaluate the hyperscale appliance as all-flash appliance, just drop me an email. Happy to provide feedback and support on that.
And from an eGInnovations perspective, a free evaluation is available off our website, so you can just go click on the Start Eval form button on our website to get started with a quick eval. The typical eval runs for 14 days, supports about 10 servers that you want to monitor. If you have specific requirements, we're happy to discuss that and work with you on something that is custom to your needs. So please contact us after this webinar if you're interested.
Okay, Ruben and Srinivas, do we have time for any more questions? I've seen.
I see one question left. Yeah. The last one. Maybe make the last one. Okay. So, question is: do we have comparison Nutanix versus Atlantis? And if yes, can you share that? Well, the answer is yes. Can you share that? Depending on who we are. If Nutanix asks this question through the webinar, probably is the answer is no. But we'll see. I have content. Just reach out to me and say, okay, I had this question in the webinar. I would love to know more about Atlantis, the benefits, and the competition, Nutanix in particular. And I'm happy to provide feedback where possible. Yeah, I think we run 5 minutes over time. No problem. We have some great questions, and it's good to answer these as well. So let's see if we can finish it up. Thank you, Srinivas. Thank you, Paul, as well, and thank you for attending and listening and participating in this webinar. And hopefully see you next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.